Hi, I'm Steve Smith from Marshall Amplification. I'm here at Fair Deal Music today in Birmingham, and we're here to talk about our new range of pedals. Before we jump into that, just talk to you about the amp I'm plugging into for the demo. This is also a new product. We've just done a video on that, so please check that out. It's the Studio JCM 900 1x12 combo. So we're running this on the clean channel for all these pedals. We're not adjusting any EQ or anything like that. It's going to be set the same throughout the demo. Clean channel with the reverb on, so all the drive you're going to hear is coming from the new pedals. So the new pedal in question right now is the 1959. So this is an all analog overdrive. It's true bypass, all the usual stuff, runs on a regular 9-volt or a battery, and it's just a real good honest overdrive pedal in the character of, you know, the old Marshall plexis from the 1960s. The controls are fairly straightforward. We've got a tone and a volume, and the unusual controls, I guess, if you don't know your Marshall plexis, is the two controls which are labelled high treble and normal. So on an old Marshall, the only way to get the gain out of them was to turn the things up, and you had a bright channel and a dark channel. You had a volume on each, so people would just literally turn the things up, and that's where you get all the gain. So essentially these are gain controls for the pedal. The high treble gives you all the kind of brighter, kind of cutting frequencies, and the normal gives you kind of a more fuller, kind of deeper, kind of low end sound. So you can use one or the other, or blend the two sounds together. So what we're going to hear now is, I've set it up just for a general rock sound. So we're hearing a little more of the high treble and just a touch of the normal. But what we'll do is experiment with those as we go. So there's your clean sound, that's just the amp. And then with the pedal. Okay, so we can see quite a difference there between that and... So we'll look at the high treble and the normal, and then the tonal range of the pedal. So I'm going to turn the normal sound off. So this is just high treble. And that's just kind of just above quarter of the way up. I'm going to go kind of to 2 o'clock-ish. And then all the way up. Okay, and then the normal, like I say, gives you a slightly different character. There's a lot more low end with that side. So that's just below halfway. If we go kind of 3/4 of the way up, you get this. Okay, but the idea is to blend the two so you get best of both worlds. So this is just a little bit of the high treble without the normal, and then you'll hear it with the normal. And then we can hear now a little more low end coming in, a little more body. So you can really balance the sound depending which amp you're plugged into, depending which guitar you're plugged into. Then once you've got your ideal settings with those two, you can use the tone control as a general kind of tone shaper, again depending which amp you're plugging into. So again, with the tone rolled off, you get a very kind of dark sound. All the way up, it gets kind of extremely bright. And then around the middle. So that's a 1959 pedal. Real good, like I say, good amp sound really. So it's a classic kind of vintage overdrive. This is kind of a good pedal for boosting already driven amps as well if you want to use it for that, even though it's not really designed for it, it works well. So that's the 1959, and next we'll take a look at the JCM 800 pedal. So the JCM 800 pedal, very similar setup. It's all analog, it's true bypass, runs on a regular 9-volt or a battery. The controls are a little bit different on this one. So we've still got the tone and the volume control. We've got the gain control, but we have a sensitivity control. And the general idea with this, if you look at a JCM 800 amplifier, you've got two inputs. You've got a high sensitivity and a low sensitivity. The high sensitivity basically gives you more gain. The low sensitivity will give you a cleaner sound. And the idea was with the pedal is to give people that option, but on a pot, so you could kind of go anywhere in between those two inputs. So again, this is the amp sound. And then with the pedal. So we can see there's a lot more gain on that one compared to the previous pedal. So just to show you the range of gain, I'm not touching the sensitivity yet, that's just left at, you know, a little past halfway. But 9 o'clock on the gain control, you get more of this thing. Gain halfway. And then all the way up, why not? So again, there's a lot of gain on there. So I'm going to put the gain back to the halfway point and then kind of play around with the sensitivity control. One thing to bear in mind, these two controls are interactive with each other. So obviously if you turn the sensitivity down, generally you'll get less gain. So sensitivity kind of at 9 o'clock-ish. Halfway, which is kind of where we had it before. And then all the way up. And then with the sensitivity and the gain up, you kind of get all that singing sustain. So again, a really versatile pedal. You know, it does the medium gain settings quite well. Also, even though the JCM 800 is generally not known for that, it sounds really great. And again, the tonal range on this is huge. So again, with the tone kind of right down, you get a very dark sound. Halfway. Then all the way. Okay, so that's the JCM 800 pedal, and now we're going to take a look at the next one. So this is the JCM 900 pedal. So this is going to give you the overdrive channel from the 900 amplifier. Again, all analog, true bypass, regular 9-volt situation, tone and volume control, gain control obviously, but we have a contour control on this one, which makes it a little bit different. The reason being the JCM 900 amps in general kind of have a different mid-range to a lot of the typical Marshalls. And the idea of the contour control was allow you to kind of fine-tune that mid-range depending on which amp you are plugging this pedal into. So again, just as a reference, this is the clean sound of the amplifier. happening with the pedal. So again, a lot of gain there on tap. Just to show you the level of the gain on this one, I'm going to back the gain off quite a bit, all the way down to kind of 9 o'clock, whereas it's set to like 2 o'clock before. So halfway up. And then all the way up. So I'm going to back the gain off a little bit, just so you can hear that contour control. Like I say, this is a fine adjustment of the mids. It's not sort of, doesn't take you from super scoop to really kind of nasally mid-range. It's just a fine tuning of that mid-range. You hear it more depending on which amp you're plugged into. So again, this is the contour control turned all the way down. All the way up. Then halfway. Okay, so that's the JCM 900 pedal. Next, we're going to take a look at the JVM. So here we have the JVM pedal, same situation, all analog, 9-volt, true bypass. This probably has the most amount of gain out of all the pedals we've been looking at today, because the JVM series of amplifiers were always designed to have lots of different sounds in one box. If you look at a JVM amp, there's a lot of controls, a lot of channels, a lot of modes. But what this has done, it's kind of captured the high gain element of a JVM amplifier. It's really going to take you from the red or the orange channel, or red or orange mode I should say, on the overdrive channel for a JVM amp. So controls fairly straightforward, volume, tone and gain, but because of the amount of gain on this pedal, there's a built-in noise gate, which is a very useful control, especially when you've got all that gain on tap. So again, just for reference, here's the amplifier sound. And with the pedal, so that's a lot of gain. I'm going to back the gain off a little bit just to show you that it's not a one-trick pony. So again, with the gain turned down to just above 9 o'clock, we've got it. Again, without the pedal. And with. A little bit more, so we're coming up to about 11 o'clock on the gain control. So that just gave us kind of a really nice blues sound actually, which you wouldn't really expect from JVM. So when you do come in and try these pedals, obviously experiment with the taper on that gain control, because it's really, really useful. So what we'll do now is turn the gain all the way up, just so you can hear how much gain it actually has. But then we'll show you the noise gate and how useful that can be. So again, the amps. This is just all the gain from the pedal now. Loads of gain there. So I don't know if you're going to be able to pick this up in the store, but what I'm going to do is just leave the gain up. So you can hear a lot of noise coming from the amp now. And the best way to use the noise gate, you know, for general purpose, for general use, is roll the volume back on the guitar, get your gain where you want it to be set on the pedal, and then turn up the noise gate control just until the noise has gone. There you go. And then what that'll allow you to do is still play with all your different playing dynamics and let your notes sustain. Because if you go too aggressive with the noise gate, it'll end up cutting off the end of all your notes, which is not a good thing. So yeah. So I've still got all that gain, but now it's nice and quiet. You can be aggressive with the noise gate if you want to use the gate as an effect. You can hear there, it's actually cutting off the end of all my notes, which is kind of a nice gating effect if you're into that kind of thing. If that's your thing. So like I say, really useful pedal, loads of gain. It's probably kind of the smoothest, most compressed overdrive as well out of the range, if that's your thing. So yeah, that's the JVM. And finally, we're going to take a look at the last pedal, which is going to be the DSL. So the DSL pedal is based on the overdrive channel from a dual super lead Marshall amplifier. Again, controls fairly straightforward. The setup's the same, it's analog, true bypass, etc. Volume control, tone control, gain control. But one thing the DSL amplifiers have on them is a deep control. Depending which version of the DSL you have, it might have been an on-off button, or the deep switch as they called it, or it was on a potentiometer, which allowed you to basically control the amount of low end in the power amp section of those amps. So it's kind of really good for beefing up the low end, the deep control. Again, you might want to tailor that depending on which amp you're plugged into. So again, we'll just start off with the clean channel on the amplifier. And then with the pedal on. So a real kind of nice classic overdrive there. And that's actually with the gain turned down quite a bit. It's kind of just past 9 o'clock there. So again, the gain range on this, just past halfway, we get even more. And then after that point, you don't really hear more gain. It just kind of compresses and squashes a little bit more. So you get a lot more of a kind of singing sustain. Okay, so that's the gain range. Now we're going to back the gain off and just take a look at that deep control. So, for all those sounds you've just heard, the deep control was around 9 o'clock, so it's just turned up a little bit. So again, this is dependent on the amp you're plugged into. You probably don't need as much of the deep control, let's say if you're playing through a 4x12, because you're already moving a lot of low end anyway. But it's quite handy if you've got a smaller setup. It can give you that perceived kind of big sound. So again, deep control off gives you this. I'm going to go halfway up now. Then all the way up, probably going to be a little excessive. So like I say, really useful control. Again, the tone control is really useful on this particular one because, again, you can interact between the deep and the tone. to either give you a kind of a massive wide sound or something a little more mid-focused. So again, I'm just going to back off the deep and the tone control. You end up with something more like this. Okay, tone control halfway. All the way up. So again, there's quite a lot of range on there, and you tweak that to the amp you're plugged into. So, like I say, all of these overdrive pedals are based on kind of iconic, legendary Marshall amps, and it's to give the user that signature Marshall sound, even if they're plugged into an amp, you know, which isn't a Marshall, or even if you already have a Marshall amp, but you want, let's say, a third channel. You might have a clean channel and an overdrive channel. You might just want another go-to kind of sound. So these amps, these overdrive pedals are perfect for that. So again, that's kind of me done with the demo, but you need to come into the store, try them out yourself, and see which one you like. So thank you for listening, and please come and try these pedals. Thank you.